Miles Davis. Do you just their names, or do you want to know why, or do you want me to elaborate?
Yeah, elaborate.
All right, so with Miles, I like his ability to change and to not be afraid of change and exploring. Um, Sonny Rollins, because his vocabulary and virtuosity is endless. It's inspiring to be able to just go forever and not repeat anything. And Roy Hargrove, because he's a modern player and he sounds modern, but at the same time you can hear all the history in his playing. So those would be my three.
Or why?
Well, historically, a lot of those guys were users, but I think you have to remember the time period that they grew up in and the situations that most of those people found themselves in. Like some of the most notorious users grew up in the segregated South, and they all have stories of being discriminated against. Someone like Billie Holiday, she was molested as a small child, and she was prostituted at a young age. So I think, historically, a lot of those people were using as coping mechanisms, and they didn't really have the means that we do today, and most of them came from very poor families. In terms of today, it's the people that do use, I think they're using a lot of times because they've come up with some of the older people, like like if you, it's kind of just been passed down in generation. Not that it excuses it, but like a lot of these people, they get they're around it 24/7 for a couple of years, and I guess for whatever reason the bug just catches them and they try it. And a lot of those guys use really heavy stuff. But on the other end, there's a lot of people that are really clean, like Clifford Brown. He purposefully, he didn't even drink because he wanted to prove that you could be a master at this style of music and live clean. And he inspired people like Sonny Rollins to stay clean. And then in modern times, there's people like Joshua Redman that he doesn't use, and Brian Blade. A lot of these guys, like the spectrums. It's kind of weird. I've noticed that like some people are like really heavy users, and other people are very clean in all aspects of their life. And it's unfortunate because like Roy Hargrove's a big user, and he's sick. He looks really bad for his age. But anyways, yeah, totally. I like I always go to, not just jazz per se, but like just playing music. I constantly use it as an escape, and there's a lot of times where like I might get into a big argument with my wife or something, and then I'll have to go play a job, and I'm able to work out my emotions and feelings through my horn, and after the job I feel better about whatever the argument was, and I can come back to her and we can talk. I'm in a different place, so it's easier to talk and resolve situations. But yeah, I constantly go back to my instrument for that. I think, that can be traced, that's actually traced all the way back to traditional African music. That's where that comes from. In African music, they teach their young people about that part of life through music and dance. And so I think, when they were brought to America and they started recreating types of music, that was part of their historical tradition. And there's definitely innuendos or straight up references to that in a lot of jazz music. but it's also there in blues, which was a precursor, and it's there in soul and funk and hip hop and it's in everything, and that goes all the way. I mean, that goes back hundreds, if not thousands of years. I just think the further back in history you go, the more subdued it was and not as obvious. It's like today's music or maybe even some jazz music, but it could only be part of jazz because so much jazz has no lyrics to it. So it's just a title, and that title might reference that, but it might not. So I don't know. I think that's an African thing, not a jazz thing. I'm drawn to it because of the challenge. Like I know that in classical music the challenge is to play the same thing every time, which is amazing to me because I can't do that at all. And jazz is almost the opposite. The challenge is to not play the same thing every time, which is equally hard. And I've always loved that you could take the same piece of music and hand it to 50 different people, and you'll hear 50 totally different versions. And even if they're all saxophone players, if you've listened enough to all 50 of them without seeing who's playing, you can know who's playing through their personal language. And that's what I love. And I love, the openness of it. Like you play classical music, you got to play what's on the page, and that's your job, to play what's written and to stay with the band. And in jazz, they're just kind of guidelines, and your job is to not play what's on the page, but still function within an ensemble of people, and none of us know what we're going to play until we play it. I guess once you get at the higher levels, it always works, and I'm at the level where most of the time it works, and sometimes it doesn't, and then it's a big challenge to make it sound like it's working and find our way out of the box. So that's why I love the challenge of it. So, and I think that's why most listeners don't like it, because it's too challenging.